The professional thing to do is to cover the last round game though, which is going to take place between two gentlemen that are very good at Blitz, Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. There we see Anish Giri on screen. That's not either of them. Here we see the tournament winner, Hikaru Nakamura, who doesn't have tournament victory at stake anymore, but there is the world number 1 spot in the Blitz rankings. Right now, Nakamura at 2.888 and Carlsen at 2.887. So whoever wins this game will be number 1 in case of a draw. Nakamura keeps the top spot as well. Carlsen's gonna want to finish on a high note to win this game. He hasn't played great chess the last couple of games.
No, I think he's been... not only the results were not up to his normal standard, but also the quality of his play today was not what we were used to seeing from him. He played some nice games. I think the game he won against Kramnik looked... we didn't look at it in great detail, but from what I've seen was a reasonably clean victory in Nancy-Berlin, and there were some other, flashes of brilliance, but the general impression definitely was that today and overall over the course of the 4 days, Nakamura showed the more stable chess by far.
Because normally, what sets Magnus apart is he makes no mistakes. Like, he just is incredibly stable, and that wasn't the case today. Can't win them all, I guess. He had a tweet a while back, can't win them all. Apparently, in brackets, after the World Blitz. This is another one of these days. But if he finishes as world number 1 in Blitz, it would mean a little something to him. So he's gonna push hard against Hikaru. Looks like they switched off the lights on stage to show us a little movie. It's the same clip we've seen before. Very nice clip, actually.
Yeah.
And the games are about to begin. This is the last hooray for the Paris Grand Chess Tour stop. But the Grand Chess Tour only takes a very brief break and moves to Belgium, to Leuven, where I'll be going. Sadly, you're not gonna be with me, so I'm gonna have to find other dumb jokes to make.
I'm sure you'll manage. I have the greatest respect for your abilities in that area.
I haven't been very dumb jokey today. It's never too late though. There we see Carlsen against Nakamura. Apart from the dumb jokes part, someone has to do all the chess thinking too. It's gonna be tough, but I'll be joined by Anna Rudolph doing the English show on Chess24. So looking forward to Leuven. It ain't over till it's over though. Today we still have one more game. What do you predict?
On current form, you can't really bet against Nakamura, regardless really of who he's playing. But Carlsen has been, historically a very, very difficult opponent for him. I really don't know. I mean, had I not seen what's been going on today, I would pick Magnus here. Not only because he is white, but because I think for him these games are easier than they are for Hikaru. He approaches them lighter, and it shows in his play. But today he really hasn't been himself, and Hikaru has been,
No, we can see him there holding his face. He might have a headache too. Like something's a little off with the world champion. Still, it is Hikaru. He's gonna get up for that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is he gonna play?
I think he'll play something offbeat again.
You think so?
He's been doing some really, really sort of off-white stuff in the last number of games. The 96 knight f6 opening he played against Fress is, of course, I think heavily influenced by the fact that he was playing Fress and they know each other so well. But no, e4, you're correct. Yeah, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Yeah, no funky business here. Knight f6, d3. Lots and lots of anti-Berlins in this tournament, and the one really good game he played today, I think, was in this particular sub-variation of the anti-Berlin, the one he won against Vladimir Kramnik.
H3 not the main move nowadays, but Magnus likes going his own way. It's also not in style to go for the sharp stuff with long castles necessarily.
Yeah, h3, knight c3 is what he opts for. The idea of h3, I guess, is to limit bishop g4 to make sure that the one reasonably bad piece black has, the bishop on c8, cannot be traded for a knight.
Yeah. It's weird because you think black has the bishop pair as compensation for his broken pawn structure, but especially his bishop on c8 is very hard to find work for. So normally
Yeah.
black focuses on regrouping.
Rook e8,
his
bishop
knight first.
e3. Bishop e3 is an interesting choice because I always felt that this change of structure is quite welcome for black, and Hikaru seems to agree. He's taken without too much hesitation, and 97. He wants, I guess, to go sort of the usual route. Yeah, c5, knight f8, put it.
Either here, or we've seen him put it
Yeah.
here and put the bishop on e6 as
Yeah.
well.
The pawn will get to f6. I think, and Magnus castles short. I was about to say that he probably still try and castle long and give mate, but Magnus goes for a more restrained approach. The queen normally goes to e1 here to try and support knight h4. Yeah, knight f8, queen e1 has been played. This is a perfect opportunity to go knight g6 to restrict this kind of play. I expect Hikaru, because he's been playing knight g6 in much less advantageous situations. Here it really does look very natural to put the knight there. Because knight h4, f5 is one of the more obvious active plans white has in this type of positions. Hikaru
Is it
thinking,
realistic
yeah.
for white to play in the center, like I don't know, queen g3, rook d1, d4?
I think it kind of backfires because black never really responds to d4. Maybe he plays f6.
Hikaru played f6.
Hikaru starts with f6. I wonder why not knight h4. And
g4,
Magnus doesn't need the second invitation here. g4, queen g3, rook f2, rook f1, h4, g5. His next, I don't know, 5 moves can be predicted quite confidently.
Knight g6 now.
Yeah, I think you still play queen g3. You need to support your king side here. Yeah, queen g3. And the thing about these types of positions is that it's very, very difficult for black to find any kind of active counterplay. But h6 is an interesting indication already, because by playing h6, black hints at his idea on how to meet h4 and g5. He wants to take with the f-pawn and then play h5, and he will have the g4 square for the bishop, which will be on e6. So we are headed sort of in that direction.
Yeah, all these natural moves are on the board.
Yeah, h4, queen d7, I guess rook g2, because there's really no reason to hurry with g5, I suspect. Yeah, rook g2 is what Magnus does. And yeah, an interesting kind of a waiting situation has emerged. But after rook f8, you maybe can play g5. No, g5 bishop h3 though, you need to watch this as well. Not immediately maybe, because gh looks awkward, but let's say fg, hg, and now bishop h3 might be a decent idea. Magnus goes d4, which is an interesting switch. Having played g4, you wouldn't expect him to switch to the central play. And also I'm a bit surprised at how fast Hikaru has taken on d4. I would have considered maybe not touching it at all and ignoring. But
still, after d4, it's going to be much harder to slowly build up here.
Sure. Even hg, f5 now becomes a very, very decent potential reply to g5.
Magnus goes h5.
Yeah, but now knight h8, f7, g5 looks like a very, very natural restructuring.
Hikaru is fine, right? This pawn is weak if the knight goes.
I think the idea is to play
before
e5 immediately. I think if you allow knight f7, you're never going to get anywhere. I think he wants to go knight h8, e5 here, trying to do something whilst the knight is still on h8.
Curious if you can still do this, maybe.
Yeah, you could, but at least I think you've gotten somewhere at least with white. Knight h8, let's see if I'm correct, because I think allowing knight f7 would be a huge blow.
Could there be issues with d5 after knight f7?
I can't find them. You take twice, you go c6, and you ask what exactly is the problem.
Yeah, you would have to play some weird move like rook d1. Maybe you can though.
He does play rook d1. He does play rook d1 right now, trying to stop knight f7, but queen d6 might be a move. Because I think with the pawn on h5, black really shouldn't be worried about endgames. But I mean, I'm not entirely.
I'm always slightly worried about an endgame against Magnus Carlsen, even if it's fine. But yeah.
Here I think queen d6 is a reasonably logical move to make. Not the only move by any stretch, but a logical idea to consider. Because you really want to go knight f7 as soon as possible, and giving the bishop additional squares makes sense.
Queen d6 has been played.
He does play queen d6. Let's see if Magnus decides to enter one of these endgames or not.
He doesn't have tremendous choice. If black guesses,
Yeah,
black can easily be there.
black is half a tempo away from being very comfortable, I think. The knight on f7 will kill off more or less the entire...
Do this, but black is still very comfortable.
Yeah, takes, even take on d5 here. Although, I don't know. Maybe knight f7, because here knight d6, knight d4 e6 becomes a bit of an idea, or knight d4 f5. But probably still fine for black, I guess, with correctly.
Yeah, also this looks reasonable.
This also looks fine, yeah. Black is not really obliged to commit to any kind of trade early. Bishop c8. Ah, no, I'm blundering an exchange. Yeah?
Maybe some tricks.
We'll see. We'll see. Magnus is still considering his options. He has a bit less than 2 minutes, and Hikaru has 2.5. Sorry, a bit less than 3 minutes. Yeah.
Times are still
my
fairly
mistake.
balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magnus doesn't look. I don't know. He looks engaged, but not excited.
Queen takes d6 has been played as expected, and knight h4 once again stopping at least the immediate knight f7. This is I like this move.
It's clinic and prophylaxis. Every move he's trying to stop knight f7. Still not clear if he's better, but he's doing sensible things. And I'm not sure if black has time to, I don't know, do something like this.
Hikaru goes d5.
D5.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice.
You take, I guess. Yeah.
I think you start by taking and then you consider your options. I think black probably takes with a pawn because after bishop takes d5 you...
Well, this looks comfortable for white somehow.
Yeah, knight f5.
Square.
Start with c3 as well, but yeah, generally. Yeah, I think... I missed knight h4. Knight h4 is a very, very clever little move. And makes me change my mind a little bit about this position.
Bishop takes.
Yeah, knight g5, cd5. But still, black's structure is incredibly solid, so white will need to get somewhere fast.
King f1 makes a lot of sense to exchange one pair of rooks.
I guess rook e4 is what Hikaru does, because now, finally, knight f7 will be very difficult to stop. Knight f5, I expect knight f7. Knight f7 to renew the idea of rook f8.
You can do it immediately, but knight d6 probably still in white's favor. Rook f4.
And rook f2, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. I think the knight still goes to f7, whatever you do. So why not do it here? I don't really see why you need to waste another tempo on anything here.
I think Carlsen's got a rush to exchange one pair of rooks either way.
Yeah, knight f7, he goes rook e1,
yeah.
correct. Yeah, white is slightly better here.
It's a nice knight, and this is an isolated pawn. It's not particularly weak, but it cannot be attacked later on.
Sure. Rook f4 check.
Makes sense as well. Can you go king e2?
Well, you can, but do you want to? King
I don't want
g1.
to.
But now knight e7, knight g6 is a huge threat. I really don't like this. And
Knight g5?
knight
Did you blunder
g5.
this?
No, but he has his own forks on the other side of the board. So
So you play, what do you play? Rook e7, rook e3. One of those maybe.
yeah, rook e7 probably is the more concrete of the two, but knight f3 check might be strong here, because rook f7 is also possible, because after rook e8 check you have king h7. Rook f8 would lose material though. It's important to note. Now knight e7 is very strong, and rook takes f8 forces king takes e7. He goes rook f7, king h7, and knight f3 is an annoying threat to face actually.
Well, you'd like to go here, but there's still knight f3 worst
Yeah,
case
I
scenario.
think you can actually waste a tempo on c3 here probably, or I think Magnus wants to go king h2, judging by what I see on the camera, and he does go
Yes,
king
dropping
h2.
knight f3 makes a lot of sense.
Sure. Maybe
Magnus
it's
has
time
some
to
pressure now.
maybe it's time to go g6. Hikaru goes knight
Knight
e4, but
e4,
now
right.
yeah, you could run into some
Can you do this?
heavy turbulence after knight h4. Suddenly looks very, very dangerous for black, because how do you stop knight g6?
Knight d6, rook d8.
Yeah, knight h4 is what Magnus plays, and it suddenly looks like Hikaru has gotten himself
Out
in trouble.
maneuvered.
He doesn't feel particularly perturbed because he has won the tournament, but I
Still
think
annoying.
yeah, but I think the game is actually sort of over
over,
here.
right?
Yeah, I don't see any way to stop this. 96 rook d8 doesn't really improve your situation at all. So Magnus will finish on a consolation victory here, which will cheer him up and will upset Hikaru to a degree. But Hikaru is still
It's gonna take the win.
yeah, with 2 rounds to spare, very convincing victory for him. But yeah, this game seems to have concluded somewhat rapidly. He should have gone g6. I was about to suggest that it's time to do something about your king's position. Not here, no. Yeah, king h2, g6. I mean, it's an ugly move to make, but at least you make sure you're not getting mated later in the game, and you create some counterplay ideas with h5 later on. So 96,
Try
96 rook d8
of course,
and rook c7, but simply rook takes d6, and yeah, it's a full piece. I don't think Hikaru will continue.
Hikaru
from
resigns.
here.
Yeah.
So yeah, an important victory in the context of their chess relationship, so to speak. But Hikaru is still an undisputed victor in this tournament. Very, very well played by him.
Absolutely. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Magnus for finishing on a high note, reclaiming number 1 in the World Blitz rankings. Oops, sorry. What is this? Here we are. In the tournament, Nakamura wins. This is not yet updated with 25.5. 1 point ahead of Magnus Carlsen. Then MVL has locked up third for a while now as well.
There's still some games going, so
Yeah,
we
sure,
should switch back to that for a second whilst, probably the game between MVL and... no, that is a technical endgame which MVL is not going to win, so Veselin also finishes on a reasonable high. Fabiano is pushing seemingly against Laurent, probably bishop g7 and rook d8 picks up some material, I guess. And yet this is what happened, and after c7 Fabi will be a piece up, should be convertible from here. Rook d7, a7 instead of c7 also feels rather attractive, and this is what he opts for. So probably a victory for Fabiano.
Yeah,
here
bishop c8.
in Aronian Giri.
11's better, right? Oh no, he took on e3. Sorry, thought it was white to move.
Should probably be a draw now, I guess. Although white probably is still somewhat better. Rook f2, queen g3, queen g2. But with the black pieces as active as they are, you probably don't win this with white. Although, I mean, who knows?
You can try pawn up.
Yeah, sure. Queen g2, queen e3, and it seems like they are repeating moves. Yeah, that game ends in a draw. Fabiano, I think, won against Fressinet, and MVL will hold this endgame without too much difficulty.
Yes,
you can do more or less whatever you want. You can take on d3 if you want. You can play bishop g3 if you want. It doesn't really matter anymore.
No, this should end in a draw any minute. Wesley So has defeated Kramnik by checkmating him in the middle of the board. This is
yeah.
cute,
Knight f4 f5 was probably slightly uncalled for.
yeah, you might need that square.
Yeah, that was yeah. Vladimir has had a really strange day. You don't see him doing all these things very often. Whoops, sorry.
This chair doesn't tell the full story. Looks like everybody left the stage. That means the tournament is officially